Well, Carolina will receive the kick from the 15-year vet, Olindo Mare. Jordan Pugh and Mike Goodson back to receive. It's the 5-6 Seahawks, the 1-10 Panthers, and we are underway in Seattle. Goodson takes it on the run, a yard deep. Past the 20, the 25, past the 30, and dragged down at the 39-yard line by Jordan Babineau. But a great start for the Panthers and their rookie quarterback, Jimmy Clausen, making his 6th NFL start.
And I think last week, like I said, was probably his best game, especially that last drive. 71 yards they went with no timeouts, got into field goal range, didn't make the kick, but it'll be interesting to see whether or not he can pick up where he left off at the end last week against Cleveland.
Panthers will start out in a 2 tight end set with Jonathan Stewart dotting the I. It is Stewart, tries to cut back, gains about 6 as we take a look at the Panthers offense led by that man Stewart. Welcome home. He grew up in Lacey, Washington, about 4.
Yeah, he told us he'd be excited, but also a little bit nervous to play in front of the home crowd.
Very young on the outside with Geddes. You also see Brandon LaFell, and up front, the best players, Jordan Gross.
I'm keeping my eyes on him all day long, Chris. Huge matchup against Chris Clemens, number 91 for Seattle.
Clausen, first pass attempt of the day, looking for Steve Smith. And it is incomplete, intended for the 4-time Pro Bowler. Seattle gave up 503 total yards last week in the loss to Kansas City, but you can't blame Chris Clemens.
No, he has been probably their best defensive player all year long with 7.5 sacks. He really does it with an outstanding first step. He's going to have to get pressure on Clausen early and often.
Well, the last 2 games, that Seahawks defense has not been able to get off the field. Here, 3rd and 4 for the Panthers. Clausen looking for LaFell, back shoulder, and he's got him for a first down in front of Kelly Jennings.
What a throw by Jimmy Clausen early in this game. You see this all the time. He's working against Kelly Jennings. It's a back shoulder throw. It's so hard for the cornerback to defend that. And Clausen put it exactly where he needed to. What a great start here for Carolina.
Gain of 14 as the Panthers get it down to the Seattle 41. Quick hitter out to Smith, who gets past Jennings, gains about 7 before being shoved out of bounds, and they have to continue to find a way to get Steve Smith the football in the early going.
There is no question. I was talking with Panthers wide receivers coach Tyke Tolbert before the game, and he said that's a big part of what they try to do, is get the ball in Steve's hands early so he feels like he's a part of it.
Officially, it's a gain of 8, 2nd and 2. Stewart wrapped up, but not before he gets another Panthers first down, and this is something that Carolina has not seen all year until last week. That's a healthy Jonathan Stewart.
Well, at 5'10", 235, he is a load, and you can see, made his home in high school right here. 7,700 yards, that is ridiculous.
And 95 touchdowns to go along with that.
Gosh.
And he said he missed half a season one year.
I would have gone to the mall with my letter jacket on every night.
Another first down for Carolina on this opening drive. Another quick hitter, but this one batted away by that man Clemens.
That is really rare right there when you have an outstanding pass rusher like Clemens. Everything he's trying to do, working against Jordan Gross, middle of your screen, he's trying to get up the field. For him to have the presence of mind to get his hand out, it looked like maybe it hit him in the chest, though.
I think Jimmy Clausen with an assist on that one. Almost hit him between the 9 and the 1.
Yeah, I don't know how much credit I can give Chris Clemens for that one. I think that one's on Jimmy.
2nd and 10. Quick toss to Stewart. Spins forward for about 3 before Kentwan Balmer and David Hawthorne drag him down. And Kansas City last week ran for 270 yards against the Seattle defense. It was the most yardage given up on the ground by a Seattle defense in a decade.
And already, I know it's early, but I think they're looking better. in the run defense so far today. Stewart has not had a great deal of room to run, so hopefully, for the Seattle Seahawks' sake, they figured that out.
3rd and 8. Only a 2-receiver set for the Panthers. And it's a handoff to Stewart, and he bowls over would-be tacklers for another Carolina first down.
Gutsy play call there. I was going to say conservative play call, but I guess it's not that conservative when you run the football as well as Jonathan Stewart does. Watch the middle of your screen. A couple double teams working up to the linebackers. You're not going to get a hole much bigger than that. And then watch Stewart right here. Lower the boom on Lawyer Malloy. He has an amazing ability to bounce off the first tackler and keep going.
And for the first time today, we see Mike Goodson in the backfield, and he'll get the rock off the right side. Goodson inside the 10, close to another first down. And Mike Goodson, you know, this team is so young. He is one of those guys that has taken advantage of the opportunity presented to him.
Without question, 400 total yards over the last 3 weeks, and I might have spoken too soon about this Seattle run defense. That's 2 plays in a row, Chris, where they had huge holes to run for the Carolina Panthers.
Goodson remains in on 1st and goal from the 7. It's Goodson again, and he has a touchdown for the Panthers.
Wow, you can see some of the boo birds already coming out in Seattle. That just looked too easy. Watch the right guard, Jeff Schwartz. Watch this block that he's going to have against Brandon Mebane. He finishes at the end. That's Brandon Mebane's spot. Brandon Mebane has to be in the B gap between the guard and the tackle. Schwartz won that individual battle. Touchdown, Carolina.
And the former draft pick of the Seattle Seahawks in 1991, John Casey, on for the PAT. And just like that, for the 2nd week in a row, Carolina takes it down the field on the road to score a Mike Goodson touchdown. The Panthers have silenced this crowd in Seattle after a well-balanced scoring drive.
And I tell you what, for the Seattle Seahawks, that is exactly what you did not want to see, is how relatively easy they were able to move the football down the field.
Leon Washington takes it at the goal line, across the 20, and dragged down quickly at the 22 by Gary Barnidge, the backup tight end. The Seahawks have a little work to do, down 7 in the early going. Back in Seattle, where Pete Carroll's crew has been stunned by Panthers' opening touchdown drive. They went 61 yards. Pete Carroll, in his first season up in Seattle, his 5th overall as an NFL head coach, prior stops with the New York Jets and the New England Patriots as well. Spent the last 9 years on the sidelines at USC. Matt Hasselbeck, the 3-time Pro Bowler, under center, giving it to Marshawn Lynch, who has a nice run to get it going of about 8, as we take a look at the Panthers touchdown.
Take a look at Brandon Mebane right there. He is in the gap between the guard and the tackle. That's where he has to be. When you're playing run defense, every man has a gap. When Jeff Schwartz sealed him inside like that, he lost his gap, and that's why Pete Carroll is going over and talking with those guys saying, hey, gap control, fellas.
Here on 2nd down, Hasselbeck and Lynch run right into one another, and they lose 6.
That play appeared to be doomed to failure from the start. They tried to run an end around with the ghost coming around receiver, but Marshawn Lynch and Matt Hasselbeck clearly not on the same page. Quite frankly, they're lucky they didn't fumble the football right there.
And let's remember that Hasselbeck is playing with 2 cracked bones in his left wrist, and he has a guard over that, and so he has to hand the ball off with his right hand. And
he specifically said he has to worry about Marshawn Lynch because of how hard Marshawn runs.
So now 3rd and 7. That's Forsett getting it, and he will not get the first down. Stopped shy by Everett Brown. So 3 straight runs by the Seahawks, who were held to just 20 yards rushing a week ago.
It was not surprising to me when the Carolina Panthers ran a draw on 3rd and long, but for the Seattle Seahawks to do that, that is really surprising, especially as well as Matt Hasselbeck has played the last 3 weeks, averaging well over 300 yards passing, and Mike Williams is back in the lineup. I would have thought they would have gone to Big Mike there.
John Ryan on to boot it away to Captain Munnerlyn. End-over-end kick. Munnerlyn takes it at the 21, and he is cleaned up quickly by Kennard Cox, the man who blocked a punt last week that led to a Seattle touchdown here. Lowers the boom on the captain. The Panthers will take over from there. Back in Seattle, where Captain Munnerlyn's trying to knock the cobwebs out of that head after the big-time hit by Kennard Cox on the punt. Jimmy Clausen starts his second drive at his own 21. Play action, looking downfield, and he hits David Geddes for the first down, the 6th-round pick out of Baylor. Well, it is the first ever American Country Awards hosted by Trace Atkins, with over 15 performances from country music's biggest stars. And it's the only country music award show where you vote for the winner. The American Country Awards live tomorrow at 8/7 Central, only on Fox. And sweet music to the ears of John Fox so far with his Carolina offense, moving at will against Seattle's D. Stewart, another big hole, gets about 7 before he is wrapped up. In the last 2 weeks, Carolina has really been able to move the ball on its first drives in Cleveland and in Seattle, and they're leaving a mark, and you talk about showing improvement, Ross.
Yeah, and which is amazing because they hadn't scored in the first quarter a touchdown all year until last week against Cleveland. This is their recipe for success. Run the ball and mix in a couple passes with Jimmy Clausen.
Play action, and he hits Tony Fiametta, the fullback, for a first down. And quickly, let's send it down to Los Angeles. Kurt Menefee with a game break.
Well, Marion Barber out with an injury, so Tashard Choice getting more opportunities, and he takes advantage at Indy. Nice moves, 20-yard score, and the Cowboys have the early lead over the Colts, 7-0. Chris and Ross.
Thank you, Kurt. And that's a huge game as well for the Indianapolis Colts, who, if they lose, will be a game back of Jacksonville in the AFC South. Stewart bottled up for about 3 or so. Well, take a look at the early games on the NFL slate here in Week 13. A fantastic finish that we had in Cincinnati between the Saints and the Bengals, and we'll have an update on that one for you coming your way in the VSiN halftime reports. You needed your invisible glasses to see those.
Well, here they are. Now we got it.
Second and 7. Clausen hits Fiametta again, and another first down. Fiametta has now doubled his catch total on this drive.
You know, Tony Fiametta was taken in the 4th round. That's pretty rare in today's day and age with NFL. I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that don't even have fullbacks, but that's why he got drafted. Not only is he a hammerhead as a blocker in the run game, but he does have enough athleticism to be able to make some plays in space like he did right there.
Replacing Brad Hoover at that position, who was so good for Carolina for so many years. Stewart running angry, gains about 3. Now, the look of the Carolina backfield has really taken on a different look over the last several weeks. DeAngelo Williams, the Pro Bowler from a year ago, has been out since Week 7, placed on IR because of a bad foot. That man, Mr. Goodson, has gotten his shot. Jonathan Stewart now back healthy and running hard.
It's pretty much like it doesn't matter who the Carolina Panthers draft and play at running back. That guy has success.
Second and 7, Clausen out of the gun, and he hits Jeff King, the tight end, for virtually no gain, wrapped up by David Hawthorne, who has had an outstanding season for Seattle. We talk about Jonathan Stewart and what he did last week in that loss in Cleveland. Had a season-high rushing.
It is very rare that you will ever see the first guy bring him down. That's the difference between good backs and great backs, is that he gets what's there, and then he always gets more. He is a big boost with his return. from that concussion.
Stewart stays in the game on 3rd and 5. Clausen pressured out of the pocket, looking downfield. Ball is tipped as he was trying to throw it across the grain to Steve Smith.
Very dangerous pass by Jimmy Clausen right there. That was a rookie mistake. That's the type of throw that you'd rather Jimmy not make. You'll see he gets some pressure from his right, Raheem Brock. He runs outside of it. I think he would have been better served if he stepped up. And you do not want to throw the ball late and behind you across your body. He's lucky that was not intercepted.
Lofa Tutupu got a paw on it to knock it away. So Jason Baker on to punt it away to Washington at his own 10. Washington will let it bounce, but instead it is caught by Marcus Hudson. Matt Hasselbeck starts deep in his own territory. Bad news for the Seattle Seahawks right here.
Yeah, I think it happened on the last play, the 3rd and 8 draw. Watch the end of it. Right there, his left ankle, Justin Forsett falls into it, as you can see. And watch how Mike Williams went down. You could tell he was in pain. It seems like that's how almost all injuries happen, when someone else runs into you from the side or from behind. That would be a huge loss for Seattle if Mike cannot come back in.
And it is that left foot that kept him out of action last week in the loss against the Chiefs. Hasselbeck with a quick hitter. Gains maybe 2 to the fullback, Michael Robinson. Once again, your early game out-of-town scores. The Giants just beat up on the Washington Redskins as New York's trying to keep pace with the Philadelphia Eagles, who were winners earlier this week against the Texans.
Yeah, I don't know that any of those scores are a real surprise, with the exception of maybe the Cleveland Browns winning 13-10 down there in South Florida against the Miami Dolphins.
2nd and 10, Hasselbeck looking and hitting Brandon Stokely, but then knocked away by Richard Marshall. Matt Hasselbeck, 10 touchdowns this season, but 4 have come in the last 3 weeks, Ross.
And I really think it might not bear itself out statistically, but especially when you look at how he's playing over the last 3 weeks, I think he's playing almost as well as he ever has in his career when you take into account, number 1, the new offense, number 2, the offensive line, number 3, they can't really run the ball that well, and then the new receivers he has to work with. He's playing pretty well.
Well, he's going to have to make something happen here on 3rd and 10. Looking down the middle of the field for Deion Butler and overshoots it.
Take a look at Deion Butler. He's working in the slot. They're working against his zone. So it's him against Charles Godfrey right there. Matt Hasselbeck took a shot as well. Charles Johnson, that guy again, is having a big year for Carolina. His best as a pro by far.
2nd straight 3 and out for this struggling Seahawks offense. Ryan just gets it away. Munnerlyn on the back pedal all the way to his 33. And he slips down at the 40 before Will Herring finishes it up. And perhaps more injury news for the Seahawks. We will check on Matt Hasselbeck and that ailing wrist. Ross Tucker, if John Fox could see this graphic at the bottom of the screen, he would be smiling ear to ear.
This is their recipe for success. This is what they want to do. And quite frankly, it's what he's tried to do throughout his entire tenure in Carolina.
Run the football, eat up that clock. We'll stay on the ground with Stewart for about 2. Wrapped up in the middle by Craig Terrell. But this Seattle defense, last week we talked about it. They gave up 270 yards on the ground to Kansas City. And the rush defense really hasn't been right since they lost a couple guys to injury.
Well, they lost Colin Cole, the nose tackle, as well as at the defensive end position, Red Bryant. And so Kentwan Balmer, as well as Junior Ciavii, they are not quite as stout up front as the other 2 guys were. It's noticeable when you watch the film.
Clausen hits LaFell again, gets into Seattle territory and moves the chains yet again. But a lot of these open passing lanes are there in part because Seattle hasn't been able to stop anything on the ground, Ross.
Well, everything can be based off of the run if you're having success with that. You look at what they've done the last 6 games, clearly the worst in the NFL. And you think with as much as they're doing inserting Lawyer Milloy into the box as the 8th defender, it would be better than that, but it's not.
Quick toss to Stewart, tries to make a cut. And we have our first flag of the afternoon. Gene Steratore, our referee.
Illegal motion, offense. Right tight end was going down into a 3-point stance at the time of the snap. 5-yard penalty, replay, first down.
And very quickly, let's get a game break from Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.
Big matchup in the NFC South. Falcons at the Buccaneers. Michael Turner, 5-yard score, puts Atlanta up 7-0. Falcons' best record in the NFL coming into Week 13. Next week at Carolina, the following week at Seattle. Chris and Ross.
Thank you, Kurt. A bobble by Clausen still gets it away to Smith. It was a low throw, but they say completion. Gain about 6 or so on the play. What do you think of those Buccaneers unis? You like going old school?
The orange creamsicle?
Yes.
I love those. The only problem I have with that is every time I look at them in those uniforms, I actually would like to eat an orange creamsicle.
You're craving Buccaneers. Interesting. Clausen on 2nd and 8, looking downfield, incomplete, intended for LaFell, covered closely there by Marcus Trufant.
LaFell is one of 2 rookie receivers. You can see him up there at the top of your screen. He's working against Marcus Trufant. He just runs a little post pattern here. Jimmy Clausen needs to put that football on him. If he gets that ball into LaFell's body, that's another completion for Carolina.
3rd and 8 as the crowd starts to get into it. And Clausen has to use a timeout. No snap on the play. Well, we talked about at the beginning of the telecast what a strange NFC West it's been. Sam Bradford, the #1 overall pick, has the Rams in contention, along with Matt Hasselbeck and the Seahawks. But don't count out the Niners, who were losers earlier today in Green Bay, and even the Arizona Cardinals. You laugh, you say they're 3 and 8, but if they beat St. Louis today, and if the Panthers hang on and win up here, you're going to have all 4 teams in the division separated by just a game.
It really is remarkable. It's something I've never seen, and based upon who you talk to, nobody's ever seen it. I mean, and you look at their schedules, and it really appears to me like 7 and 9, they had a good chance of winning the division.
Never seen a team below 500 win its division in the NFL since it went to a 16-game schedule in 1978. 3rd and 8, Clausen loses the ball, but he falls on it. Pressured there by Lawyer Milloy.
That's the 2nd time Jimmy Clausen has had a problem with the snap. This time it was a shotgun snap. That's perfect. It looked like he was looking downfield, and I'll tell you why. They were going to run a shovel pass. So he was going to read off of the edge blitzer. He took his eye off the ball, just like receivers and running backs do sometimes, and he dropped it.
Looked like he was trying to get it to Mike Goodson on that shovel pass. Baker takes the high snap, boots it away. Washington is going to let it hop, and it finds its way into the end zone. Well, Seattle's offense has to kick it into high gear, and speaking of the NASCAR season, it might be over, but Fox is already revving up for another exciting year. course, it all begins this February with the running of the Great American Race live from the Daytona International Speedway. It's the Daytona 500 this February, only on Fox. And speaking of Fox, John Fox, a huge NASCAR lover.
Yeah, he was telling us yesterday how he often goes over to Lowe's Motor Speedway and takes part in the Jeff Gordon Racing School. I actually did that once. It's unbelievable. It is, to actually drive a race car like that it's crazy.
He was topping out at about 180 miles an hour, he was telling us.
Whew, what a story.
Marshawn Lynch off the right side for about 2 or so. And very quickly, let's send it down to the third member of our crew, Jamie Maggio.
All right, Chris, thank you. Well, before the game, I spoke to Carolina's offensive coordinator, Jim Skipper, and he told me about a little outing that they do before the season that John Fox treats his assistant coaches to. They go to the raceway out there in Charlotte. They have a great time all day. Now, Coach Jim Skipper says he does not participate. He used to get car sick as a kid. We'll take you to the field. I'll be right back.
All right, James, way to get out of there. And here on second down, Deon Butler makes a nice snag about 3 yards shy of the first down, covered there by Richard Marshall. And still we don't see Mike Williams on the field. Of course, they were looking at his left ankle, which appeared to get rolled on by teammate Justin Forsett, and that is going to do it for the first 15, which was all Panthers. The Panthers lead it 7-0. We'll be back after a word from these local affiliates. Back in Seattle, where the Carolina Panthers, looking for their second win of the year, really dominated the first quarter and lead it 7-0. I'm Chris Rose, joined by Ross Tucker and Jamie Maggio. Mike Williams headed back to the locker room to have his ankle and or foot looked at. 3rd and 3 now for Matt Hasselbeck. Panthers bring it a blitz. Hasselbeck hits Brandon Stokely for the first down, and that keeps the drive alive. And Ross, that is something that the Seahawks desperately needed, was to get some sort of momentum going. They keep spinning their tires here.
Yeah, because so far this game has been eerily reminiscent to last week against the Kansas City Chiefs, when Seattle just could not possess the football at all. They need to get some type of drive going, if anything, just to allow their defense to rest a little bit.
Last week, they held it for less than 8 minutes in the first half. Here, Lynch trying to pop outside, but bottled up nicely there by several Panthers defenders, including John Beeson, the 2-time Pro Bowler, and Jason Williams as well.
Chris, I got to tell you, they have given Marshawn Lynch a tremendous opportunity ever since he's been here. But when you look at it, it's only 3.1 yards per carry. And I know that they want him to be the guy. I know he's the big physical guy and all that. But, I mean, Justin Forsett is averaging 4.3 yards per carry. Not to mention, they don't really ever get Leon Washington involved in the offense either.
Lynch, a 2-time 1,000-yard rusher with the Buffalo Bills, came over in an October trade. Here, Hasselbeck hits Deon Butler up to the 40. So we've seen Butler, we've seen Stokely, we've seen Williams head to the locker room, and we haven't heard boo from Ben Obamanu, who had a huge week last week.
The good news for the Seattle offense is that they are used to not having Mike Williams because they didn't have him last week. It's not like this is new to them. They know how they operate. They know which guys go to which spots when big Mike Williams is unavailable.
3rd and 2. That's Chris Baker in motion. Hasselbeck tries to hit Obamanu. He was pressured there by Tyler Brayton. For the last few weeks, Hasselbeck has been bothered by that left wrist. Take a look at what he does on the handoff here, Ross.
Yeah, he backhands it to Marshawn Lynch. You very rarely see that. And in the shotgun, he wants to get that into his right hand as soon as possible. He said he really struggles to keep both hands of the ball sometimes when he's under pressure.
Ryan boots it away for the 3rd time. Munnerlyn spun around, keeps his footing, and gets up to about the 20-yard line. And that's where Jimmy Clausen will start another drive, up 7-0. Carolina's offense has been able to quiet this Seattle crowd. They moved pretty much at will, taking the opening drive 69 yards, finishing it off with a Mike Goodson 7-yard burst for a touchdown. Stewart has some space and gets another first down for the Panthers up to the 35. Kelly Jennings pushes him out of bounds. But Jimmy Clausen last week, what a great job he did on the final drive, getting the Panthers in position to win in Cleveland.
And it took two clutch plays, the pass and run to Goodson and then Brandon LaFell getting the catch and getting out of bounds. Unfortunately, John Casey was not able to reward the rest of his squad with a win.
Clausen looking down the right side to Smith. He's got it. Smith beat Marcus Trufant, and he's got it down near the Seattle 25.
Look at the smile on Jimmy Clausen's face. He's starting to feel a little comfortable, and he likes getting it to Steve Smith. He's just working against Marcus Trufant. That's one-on-one. He just beats him up the line of scrimmage. If Trufant is not going to get his hands on Steve Smith early, he's going to have a tough time running with him like that.
39-yard catch and run for Steve Smith, his longest this season. Stewart plows forward for about 4 or so. And that catch by Steve Smith, really a rarity this year. Just his fourth catch of more than 25 yards this season. But you can see what a big play threat he has been over the last 5 years in the NFL.
He has been their guy on offense for pretty much as long as I can remember. And you got to know that the entire organization loves getting him the ball in these big spots, especially early in games. Keeps him happy.
2 tight end formation. Stewart up the middle, close to another first down.
I think a lot of people, Chris, would be surprised when they see what Carolina's done in the first quarter so far today, but I don't know that you and I really are. I mean, when you look at the strength of Carolina, that's running the football. The weakness of Seattle is stopping the run. It's not that surprising if you've been following these teams over the last couple weeks.
3rd and 1, Fiametta spins forward for another Carolina first down. Tony Fiametta has been a huge part of the game plan so far.
Is today Tony Fiametta day? I mean, this guy barely ever gets the ball, but they're rewarding him for the job he typically does as a lead blocker. As you can see, the rushing yards so far today, that's not that surprising. Seattle doesn't run it very well either.
Fiametta coming into the game had touched the ball from scrimmage 5 times this year. He already has 2 catches and now that run. Stewart bottled up nicely. Raheem Brock making the solid play. And this really could be a huge series for the Seattle defense. At least hold Carolina to a field goal attempt, and you walk away feeling a little bit better.
Well, they've got to at least try to do that. The way Jimmy Clausen's playing right now, though, it's going to be tough. Because when they can run the football and mix and match in some passes, you can just see early in this game, even with the crowd noise, that Jimmy Clausen is playing with confidence. He is picking up where he left off last week.
Stewart runs into a mass of humanity after a yard gain. Well, when the opposition gets inside of the 20-yard line, that's where that Seattle D stiffens.
Not only that, they are second in the NFL with 5 defensive turnovers in the red zone. Ironically enough, second behind the Carolina Panthers, who have 6. The Seahawks have 5.
Pete Carroll did not like his defensive formation, and so he ran out of the field for a timeout.
Seattle.
Carolina pushing for more, up 7. All right, Ross, I think we know why Pete Carroll called the timeout.
Yeah, you got to have 11 guys. They only had 10. That is a good timeout right there by Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. You can tell Pete Carroll was hustling.
Had his running shoes on, not bad for 59 years young. movement. Let's see if it was Seattle or Carolina with the infraction.
Offside. Defense unabated to the quarterback. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
I always love how all the guys point at each other. Just once I want a guy to point at himself and say, yeah, it was me.
Well, hold on. Did you ever point at yourself?
No, never. That's clearly Clemens. And then Jordan Gross came out of his stance to make sure that they would call it.
Goodson in the backfield, 3rd and 2. Quick toss to Goodson. And it's awfully close to the 1st down.
Goodson is their speed back, the guy they want to try to get outside in space. He did a nice job there. Looks like they're giving him the 1st down.
So that penalty, a huge one. It gave Carolina the opportunity to run the ball instead of strictly pass it down there.
Especially this team, because 3rd and long is not where Carolina wants to live offensively.
Stewart in the backfield now on 1st and goal. It is Stewart down to about the 3. Stood up there by David Hawthorne, and this is a guy who, with all the issues they've had on defense, has been a constant performer all season.
Well, and it started last year. He led this team in tackles with 116 last year and also 3 interceptions. And he's followed up this year, 65 tackles coming into today, including 13 last week against the Chiefs.
Second and goal. Stewart again, up the middle and into the end zone for the touchdown.
Chris, I don't know what to tell you, but in the National Football League, this is just too easy, and there are too many Seattle Seahawks on the ground after the game. Take a look right there at the double team on Brandon Mebane. He's going to be one-on-one. The double team's to the right. He gets off the block, but isn't able to get in on the play. That's not a bad job by Mebane. It was really more the double team with Khalil and the right guard, Jeffrey Schwartz, that had a lot of power.
The PAT by Casey is good, and it's the hometown kid making good and giving the Panthers the 14-0 lead. Well, Jonathan Stewart has plenty of reasons to smile this afternoon.
15 carries already, and the big touchdown right there. Again, he's born in nearby Fort Lewis. His father was in the military. Ironically enough, Chris, that's where my mom was born as well, nearby Fort Lewis.
And you're having a solid day as well, so don't fret. The man from Timberline High School gave the Panthers a 14-0 lead. Washington out of the end zone and will not make it to the 20 as Jordan Sen drags him down. This has been all Panthers. We'll see if the Seahawks can get back on track. Defensive troops. Of course, the Seahawks and the Rams came in tied for the division lead. Take a look at the remaining schedule.
Yeah, and look at the last game. They play against each other. You would think that that game would be extremely meaningful, but I don't know, Chris. If the Seahawks keep playing like this, I'm not sure it will be.
Well, the Rams are in Arizona this afternoon. 10 minutes to go in the first half, tied at 6. We will keep you updated on that game all afternoon here on Fox. Quick hit out to Cameron Mora. Backup tight end this afternoon. Gets it up to the 25. Well, tonight on Fox, you will believe in an all-new Simpsons Christmas, and Martha Stewart has the magic touch to save the season. Plus, you got a special gift with Katy Perry. It has everybody all dolled up. It's an all-new Simpsons Christmas tonight at 8, 7 Central on Fox. Katy Perry bringing the good gifts.
I wonder, will she sing California Girls with it?
Oh, the Seahawks give it to Marshawn Lynch, who barrels forward for a first down, wrapped up by James Anderson. And that's the sort of tough running they were expecting out of Lynch.
Without question, that is why they traded for him. You can see Seattle not having a very good day so far offensively, but here on this drive, they already got a first down under their belt.
Lynch off the left side, dragged down by Tyler Brayton. Gain of about 2. Lynch came over from Buffalo in an October trade for a pair of draft picks. As I said earlier, a 2-time 1,000-yard rusher, a Pro Bowler in 2008.
And in fairness, Chris, I mentioned that Marshawn Lynch's numbers have not been stellar so far this year, but in fairness to him, a lot of it's the offensive line. When you have that many different guys playing up front, you have no continuity, and continuity and chemistry are critical.
Chemistry there between Hasselbeck and Ben Abamanu for the first down up to the 46. And quickly, let's get a game break. Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.
Peyton Manning threw a pick 6 to the Cowboys, and it must have frustrated him because he came back next series 10 for 10 passing, including the 13-yard score to Pierre Garçon. It's still a 10-point Cowboy lead, though, approaching halftime. Chris and Ross.
Thank you, Kurt. How about the job that Jason Garrett has done since taking over for Wade Phillips in Dallas?
Unbelievable. Looks like it's good to be an interim coach these days. How about Leslie Frazier there in Minnesota?
That is Golden Tate, the rookie second-round pick out of Notre Dame, a gain of about 7. Well, Ross, you talked about the changes up front with the Seattle offensive line.
Well, they've had 8 different combinations in the first 11 games. It's hard to win that way. What happens is you don't really know for sure what the guy next to you is going to do, whether it's a double team, whether it's pass protection. That's what separates the good team from the bad one.
Lynch weaving his way all the way outside and inside the Carolina 40 for the first down. Gain of 9.
And maybe the fact that this offensive line's together for the second week in a row can help it. Look at Sean Locklear on the backside. And Marshawn Lynch just cuts that thing all the way back. And this is what he's always done. Right there at the end, he's always finished runs forward for an extra 2 or 3 yards. And that's exactly what Pete Carroll was looking for. There you see what's happened with the offensive line this year. That's a rarity.
Keep riding Lynch. Keeps the feet churning. Gets up to almost the 35-yard line.
He really didn't have anything on the front side there. Kind of just bowled his way for a while. As you take a look at Russell Okung and Mike Gibson. Russell Okung, even when he's played, Chris, he's been injured for the most part.
Making just his 6th start. He was a top 10 pick this year by the Seahawks. Justin Forsett now in. Panthers showing blitz, and here they come. Hasselbeck looking deep downfield for Obamanu, and it is picked off by Charles Godfrey. Brought down at the 30, but the Carolina defense applies the pressure and forces the turnover.
Good eyes by you there, Chris. You saw Jason Williams, number 54, the linebacker, blitzing. He's right there working against Mike Gibson. Mike Gibson has got to make this block. That's a linebacker. Came right through him, crushes Hasselbeck as he throws the football. That's an easy interception, but to me, that's on the left guard, Mike Gibson. You cannot get overpowered at the line of scrimmage by a linebacker making his 2nd start in the NFL in Williams.
For Godfrey, his 5th interception this season, and Clausen back to work, and that's his worst throw of the day intended for Jeff King. And you talk about the pressure that the Panthers were supplying there.
Jason Williams, totally legal hit. That is shoulder in the chest, but that's enough to take some off the football for Hasselbeck. How about Jason Williams making plays 2 weeks in a row? Last week, he causes a fumble and recovers it against the Browns deep in their own territory.
Stewart cuts it back nicely, spins forward, gains about 6. And Jonathan Stewart continues to rush well. Now 16 carries, 73 yards in the first half.
A little slow to get up. There's nothing front side. He goes front side, doesn't see anything he likes, and then cuts it all the way back. Aaron Curry cannot get him down. And that's the thing about Jonathan Stewart. You can see him limping off. I'm surprised he doesn't limp more often because of how often he is bowling over defenders. The first guy seemingly never gets him on the ground.
Mike Goodson is checked in on 3rd and 4 out of the shotgun. Clausen pressured and just throws it away as Raheem Brock was applying the pressure. So a nice job by this Seattle D after its offense turned it over to force the 3 and out.
Raheem Brock getting the pressure as you see Jonathan Stewart still trying to work something out. Remember, he's had injury issues throughout his career with both of his lower legs.
Jason Baker punting it away. Taken by Washington, who gets creamed there by Robert McClain. So the Seahawks will take over at their own 20. And a quick reminder that Fox Sports is proud to support St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, where they are doing some wonderful work every day to help kids battle cancer. Please join us in the fight and donate now at stjude.org/Fox Sports. Obviously a very worthy cause there.
No question. Seattle was getting things going offensively on that last drive up until the Hasselbeck interception. It'll be interesting to see whether or not they can pick up that, start to find some of those guys.
Hasselbeck pressure, throws it, and the ball is incomplete. Trapped out there by Justin Forsett. Good coverage there by James Anderson. Well, a huge game for the Seahawks, Ross, and they're doing it without two of their main offensive weapons. Mike Williams did get the start, but he went out after the first series. No John Carlson either. So what do they do offensively?
Well, I think they got to go with Matthew Hasselbeck because they have not had a whole lot of success this year running the football. They're going to live and die by his arm, and not having Mike Williams, that is really, really tough because this week, unlike last week, they were counting on him to be here.
Hasselbeck looking down the middle of the field for Obamanu. He's got it, and he gets nailed by Godfrey, but not before he picks up a first down. A gain of 27 as Obamanu remains on the turf.
What a shot delivered by Charles Godfrey. But Ben Obamanu found a way to hold on to the football. That's what matters.
We will check on the status of Obamanu after this. The good news is Ben Obamanu is up. The bad news is he is hurting with his right wrist and walking toward the locker room.
Take a look at this hit, Chris. Now watch Charles Godfrey deliver the blow. That is a completely legal hit because he's using his shoulder and he's doing it right into the chest of Obamanu.
We already saw one starting receiver, Mike Williams, head to the locker room in the first half. Now the other, Obamanu, is off the field. Here, Justin Forsett tries to spin forward, does so up to the 49. Now, Charles Godfrey's partner in crime, Sherrod Martin, the other safety, week 1 this year against the Giants tight end Kevin Voss, he got fined $5,000 for that hit. And then last week in Cleveland, Evan Moore of the Browns gets lit up, and Martin gets lit up for a $40,000 fine. Hasselbeck dropped as he tripped, and Charles Johnson, it looks like, will get credit for the sack. And Hasselbeck now comes up limping.
Oh my goodness. It looked like he waved over to the sideline for someone to come in for him. Try and take a look at his lower legs and see what happens. Just kind of gave out on him.
Well, Carolina has called a timeout. Charlie Whitehurst, perhaps, coming into the game. That is 9-time Pro Bowl offensive tackle Walter Jones, who played a dozen years up here in Seattle. They are about to unveil his number 71, which will hang from the rafters.
Watched a lot of offensive linemen, Chris, during my 7 years in the NFL on tape. And that guy you're looking at right there, by far the best one I ever saw. People talk about Jonathan Ogden and Orlando Pace, and both of those guys are outstanding in their own right. But you talk with Chris Samuels, you talk with some of the other linemen around the league, they will talk about number 71 for the Seattle Seahawks, Walter Jones. uncanny natural leverage, both in the pass game and the run game. Good to see him get honored here.
And let's enjoy the moment here in Seattle.
Play my whole entire career with a great city. I'd like to thank my fans and my family and my friends for all their love and support. I'd like to thank all the great players and all the great coaches that I had a chance to play with. And I'd like to say one more thing. Thank you, 12th man.
One of the biggest, baddest men in the NFL, getting teary on the day they have retired, number 71. It goes alongside the 12th fan here in Seattle and Hall of Fame wide receiver Steve Largent. In the meantime, Seattle ended up picking up a first down on a 14-yard pass from Matt Hasselbeck, who remained in the game, to Brandon Stokely. So it is 1st and 10 for Seattle. Hasselbeck going downfield for Moore. He's got it inside the 10, down to the 5.
That is a picture-perfect pass down the middle to their athletic tight end and Moore. He is capable of doing that. And the fact that they're only down to 3 wide receivers now with the injuries to Olomano and Mike Williams, he may have to do more of that.
Gain of 36, Hasselbeck, 1st and goal, trying for the lob, and that's going to be a flag on Captain Munnerlyn, who prevented Golden Tate from getting to the end zone.
Captain Munnerlyn is still confused by the penalty right there. You're allowed to jam them within 5 yards as we wait for the penalty here.
There are fouls by both teams on the play. An eligible member of the offense, downfield number 88, was covered on the play. Also pass interference defense, number 41. Those penalties offset. Replay first down.
Take a look at Cameron Mora coming right down the middle of your screen. That's just a picture-perfect pass by Matt Hasselbeck. And here's the pass interference on Captain Munnerlyn. You can jam within the first 5 yards, but you cannot when the ball's in the air like that. That's pass interference.
But because Cameron Mora, the tight end, was covered up, he went out on a pattern, so offsetting penalties, and it is 1st and goal. Hasselbeck trying to roll out, throws back across his body. There's another flag down as the pass is incomplete. Early signs, defensive holding against Carolina.
Holding. Defense, number 31. Penalty is half the distance of the goal. Automatic. First down.
That is the other starting cornerback, Richard Marshall.
Yeah, he was working in the slot against Brandon Stokely. And that's the guy that Matt Hasselbeck likes to go to in certain situations. 3rd downs, deep in the red zone. And Marshall was holding Stokely. I think that's a good call.
Huge opportunity for the Seahawks to get right back in this game. It is Forsett, the lone back. He gets it, cuts back. Forsett does not get into the end zone. He is stopped just shy by Charles Johnson, James Anderson, and Captain Munnerlyn.
Wow, looking at it from up here, I thought he was about to be in. It was very well blocked. He cut it back. Let's see if the ball crosses the plane of the goal line. There's a lot of bodies in there. You can see how hard it is for the side judges, but I don't think he got in.
Well, the play is under review, and remember, we are under 2 minutes to go, so that is not a challenge by the Seahawks. It is a booth review.
Right, and I think it's probably close enough that it's worth the guys up in the booth taking a look at it. Watch Forsett try to finish the run, going up against Charles Johnson, and all that matters is where the ball is. And from the first angle we saw, I don't think they're going to be able to overturn it.
Is part of the problem that Forsett gets his back turned, so it's his back that is on the goal line, and so the ball is even that much further away?
Exactly, because that's something else that's between him and the goal line. They're not going to have enough to overturn this. I would be very surprised if they overturn, because it's close, but remember, it has to be indisputable visual evidence in order to overturn it.
So if the play stands as called, it'll be second and less than a yard. And Seattle has had such a difficult time running the ball, but don't you want to give it to your big back, Marshawn Lynch, down here?
Well, you do, but they've had issues even with that. In the New Orleans game, they were not able to bang it in with Marshawn Lynch a couple weeks back. The thing is you really don't have the option of a quarterback sneak, as we see it one more time. You don't have the option of a quarterback sneak really with Matt Hasselbeck because of his wrist. I mean, you can run a quarterback sneak, but you're kind of putting him in peril. Again, that's the third or fourth look we've had at it. I don't think the ball crosses the plane. It's very, very close. All that matters is if any of that brown touches any of the white. Pretend you're a side judge right now. You make the call. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And Seattle is looking ahead like they don't think so either.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. The runner did not cross the goal line. It will be second down, and the clock will start on the ready for play.
So Ross Tucker, you get your honorary side judge degree this afternoon.
Those guys have a tough job. Yeah. I would not want to be one of those guys. How are you supposed to tell all the time whether or not a guy scores in that mass of humanity?
All right, so now the Seahawks know it's second and maybe a foot to get in. Where do you go? What do you do?
Well, this would be the perfect play action down if you want to go play action. But I'm an offensive lineman, Chris. I mean, you got to be able to run this in from a couple inches away.
Lynch in the backfield. It's a two tight end formation. And somebody moved, and that was before Marshawn Lynch fumbled. So no play, no play.
Chris Baker, for sure, I think moved before the ball was snapped.
Offense, number 86, 5-yard penalty, still second down.
Watch Chris Baker. Just that little bit, that's enough.
And that is a huge penalty. Doesn't it totally change the playbook at this point?
The difference between second and goal from the half-yard line and the 5.5 is night and day. Now I do expect them to throw it.
And let's remember, they don't have their big wide receiver in Mike Williams if they want to throw that sort of lob pass to him. That's pretty much out of the playbook at this point.
Half to avoid the 10-second runoff. This is Seattle's second charge timeout, and it will be a 30-second timeout.
Well, the Seahawks have been charged their second timeout, so they have one left. And a quick reminder, coming up at halftime, it's the Visa halftime show. All the early highlights, a crazy finish in Cincinnati, an update as well on Brett Favre's health, and also highlights of the Rams and Cards. That's all coming your way here on the Visa halftime. So second and goal, Seattle has one timeout left now. Hasselbeck from the shotgun. looking, fires, incomplete, knocked down there by Sherrod Martin. He was looking for Brandon Stokely.
I think he was actually going for Golden Tate. He looked at Stokely originally, like you said, and then when Stokely wasn't open, he went to Golden Tate secondly, and Sherrod Martin, he saw that coming from a mile away and jumped in front of that route. He always looks for Stokely first, but I think he thought that Stokely would clear things out underneath for Golden Tate. Sherrod Martin read that perfectly.
Hasselbeck firing for Tate, and it's knocked away by Captain Munnerlyn, all 5'9" of him.
Take a look at Golden Tate. He's working in the slot. Hasselbeck has to try to throw the ball over the 5'8" Captain Munnerlyn, but he told us yesterday he has a 39-inch vertical. Give it right there to bat the ball away. Captain Munnerlyn making huge plays for this football team 2 weeks in a row.
Now Olindo Mare, 20 of 23 this season from 24 yards out. Puts Seattle on the board, but it's not the 7 they wanted. It is 3 instead.
I don't think we can overstate how critical that series was at the end right there. For the Seattle Seahawks to get all the way down to what, the 6-inch line and not be able to get a touchdown is devastating.
Well, that penalty on Chris Baker pushed them back to the 5.5, and they couldn't get any closer. Your early game headlines: Aaron Rodgers, almost 300 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Adrian Peterson had to play most of the game with Tavares Jackson as his quarterback, and he scored 3 touchdowns. And Benjamin Watson led the Cleveland Browns to a win in Miami.
What Benjamin Watson did today, that doesn't surprise me. What surprises me is that he doesn't do that more often. Because I played with him in New England. He has unreal natural ability. I played in that postseason game the one time, Chris, where he caught Champ Bailey from behind.
Yeah, where he ran about 100 yards.
I mean, what tight end can chase down Champ Bailey like that? So that doesn't surprise me. And in fact, I bet you Benjamin Watson, who's having a good year, will continue to put numbers up like that for the rest of the season. He might be a good fantasy pickup for someone if he's still available in those leagues.
And of course, all those leagues starting to wrap up as the fantasy football playoffs start coming your way. It's Terrell Sutton back at the goal line, and Mare on the ground. Jeff King picks it up, gets it all the way to the 45-yard line, so Carolina is going to have a chance if it wants it. It has a timeout left. Well, the best teams from around Europe battle in the UEFA Champions League, and you can find it on Fox Soccer. This week, the Young Gunners of Arsenal take on Serbian giants Partizan, live in HD and only on Fox Soccer.
Chris, I don't understand that decision right there with the squib kick. And there's still 32 seconds left. As you see what Carolina's done in the first half, they've moved the ball pretty effectively, and you're going to let them have the ball at the 45 with 32 seconds left and the timeout?
Clausen, pressured, and he is dropped. Raheem Brock, the former Indianapolis Colt.
Raheem Brock's really had a nice year. Take a look at him at the bottom of your screen. He's working against Gary Williams one-on-one. He just uses a right-hand rip move. Not a good enough set by Gary Williams, although I think Jimmy Clausen could have helped him out a little bit if he had stepped up in the pocket.
His 4th sack this season, in Carolina lets the clock run out, and what a great half it was for John Fox's crew.
It's exactly what John Fox and the Carolina Panthers were hoping this team could be this year. Solid defense, run the football, and get just enough in the passing game. That's what they're getting.
Meanwhile, Pete Carroll's team, injuries to each of his starting wide receivers, Williams and Obamanu, already without his starting tight end, Carlson.
They only have 3 receivers left. We're going to see a lot of those 3 guys for the rest of the game. We'll probably see more of Cameron Mora down the seam as well, because if Obamanu and Mike Williams can't come back, that's an issue.
Well, that's the end of the first half with the score Carolina 14, Seattle 3. Fox NFL Sunday continues with the Visa halftime report after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. Reese Lloyd boots it away. Washington will bring it out 2 yards deep. He drops it, and oh boy, he came out. He's got to pick it up, and he does finally, and gets spun down by Jordan Pugh at the 4. And what a gaffe by the former Pro Bowler.
Boy, sometimes when it rains, it pours. And Leon Washington is a very experienced kickoff returner. At that point, no, you're already out, Leon. You got to go. You got to go.
I mean, what was going through his mind? Once he's out, he's got to know that he's got to go.
Yeah, I think he was thinking that if he could stay in the end zone and get the football, but I think he did a smart move at the very end there, trying to at least get a couple yards going forward. Not a good start here.
Terrible start for Seattle, and it gets worse as Marshawn Lynch gets stood up for no gain. And right now, let's throw it down to the third member of our crew, Jamie Maggio.
All right, thank you, Chris. Well, Ross, you mentioned just a moment ago, Coach Fox said heading into the half that they do have a lot of confidence right now. He said Jimmy Clausen is very comfortable in this offense, and they're going to look to do more of the same in the second half. Coach Carroll, on the other hand, said they just need to get back to the fundamentals of the game. He said they need to do a better job stopping the run and a better job protecting their quarterback. We'll get you an injury update in just a moment as well on Williams and Obamanu. Back up to you guys.
Thank you, Jamie. Hasselbeck, pump fake, going deep downfield to Golden Tate. He is down, and a flag is down as well.
It's going to be pass interference. Golden Tate ran a double move.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense number 36. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Take a look at Robert McClain. He's working against Golden Tate. And there's the hold right there. It wasn't blatant, but they're going to call that.
Automatic first down on the hold. Lynch with a nice hole, and he is spun down by John Beeson, but not before picking up another first down, and maybe we'll see more out of the ground game because they are injured at wideout. Mike Williams fell into by Justin Forsett on the first series, then Ben Obamanu lit up by Charles Godfrey. He left with an injured forearm apparently. Matt Hasselbeck tripped. He was gimpy after that, but has remained in the game. So only 3 healthy receivers in Stokely and Tate and Dion Butler for the Seattle Seahawks. Hasselbeck going deep down the right side to Butler. Incomplete, well covered there by Munnerlyn.
You can't cover any better than that. I mean, that was so good that some of the guys on the Carolina Panthers sideline, they're actually trying to get Dion Butler to get called for offensive pass interference. You want to talk about a guy, a young man making the most out of his opportunity. Watch Captain Munnerlyn. That's perfect. It's almost like he's the wide receiver. And you know what? Dion Butler, there was some contact there. He was awfully close to getting an offensive pass interference call.
Munnerlyn getting the start for the injured Chris Gamble. Hasselbeck, time, looking downfield and hitting Mora for a first down, tripped up by Charles Godfrey. Gain of 26, and for Mora, that's his 3rd catch on the day. He had just 2 all year coming into this afternoon.
Cameron Mora working against Charles Godfrey. He's right there at the tight end spot. He's working against Godfrey, one-on-one, man-to-man. It doesn't get any simpler than that.
Lynch rolls into Panthers territory. Actually, we're going to mark him down at midfield.
Chris, we mentioned in the first half, Cameron Mora, after he caught that one ball deep down the seam, he is an athlete. He is the most physically gifted tight end that the Seattle Seahawks have. And with all these injuries at the wide receiver position, today might be his day to shine.
And remember, no starting tight end John Carlson this afternoon, inactive because of a hip flexor. This is Forsett, who's got some room. He gets inside the 30, the 25, and yanked down to the 20, plus a flag. It might be a horse collar on that one.
It's gonna be a horse collar against Charles Godfrey, I believe.
Personal foul. Defense number 30, horse collar tackle. Penalty is half the distance to the goal added to the end of the run. First down.
Watch Greg Hardy. He's playing off of Sean Locklear to the right side of your screen. Locklear hooks him inside. Once he's hooked inside, then it's all Justin Forsett from there. Greg Hardy is a young player. Then you see the horse collar at the end. That's a textbook horse collar. Remember, they started that after Roy Williams took T.O. down like that back when T.O. was still playing for the Eagles.
Lynch. Stopped by Ed Johnson after a 2-yard gain. Seattle was down at this part of the field right before halftime. They got down inside the 1. Then a motion penalty on Chris Baker pushed him back outside the 5, and they had to settle for a field goal. So it is critical they put a touchdown on the board here, Ross.
Yeah, and even if you do the math, if they kick a field goal here, they're only down 1 score, 8 points. I don't care. Throw the math out. Just from a mindset and mentality for this team to come all the way down from the 3-yard line, they've got to get in. They've got to get 6.
Hasselbeck out of the shotgun. Quick hitter to Tate. Tries to dive in, but he ends up about a half-yard shy of the end zone, upended by Captain Munnerlyn. A great effort, though, out of the rookie from Notre Dame.
Golden Tate at the top of the screen, working against Captain Munnerlyn. Looks like it's a zone concept. He sits down in the zone, breaks 1 tackle from Sherrod Martin, and tries to go up and over. Love the effort by Tate right there. Going airborne, but cannot quite break the plane to the goal line.
So now 3rd and goal. It's Lynch, and he's into the end zone. The 12th man is awake as Marshawn Lynch scores for the 3rd time this season. Mare adds the extra point, and after a season-long 96-yard drive, the Seahawks are back within 4. Back in Seattle, Marshawn Lynch getting a high five from Mike Williams, who's in civvies now. He is done for the afternoon, out with an injured ankle. Hurt on the first drive. Terrell Sutton takes it at his own 5, and he gets creamed at the 17. Cam Chancellor brings him down along with Walter Thurman, and the 12th man is back in it in Seattle. Carolina has the ball for the first time this half, and Ross Tucker, for the first time since week 6, they have scored more than 1 offensive touchdown in a game. Digest that one.
Yeah, you could have told me that. You're going to tell me that. I can barely even swallow that one. Wow.
Stewart gets maybe 1. Nice homecoming for Jonathan Stewart, who grew up about 45 minutes from Seattle in Lacey, Washington. And as you can see, he's having a pretty solid day.
What a great moment. Can you even imagine? You grow up in a certain city, you play youth football, high school football, and you get to come back as a starting running back in the NFL. And not just come back and play well.
He has a touchdown to go along with that yardage. Now Clausen trying to change things up on 2nd and 8. It's play action. Ball is caught by Stewart, who snags it away from David Hawthorne. About 2 yards shy of the first down, and Jonathan Stewart continues to shine. He has done it all this afternoon, Ross.
Well, he has, and as I've mentioned time and time again, he always bounces off the first tackle. He always gets look at the power right there. Are you kidding me? 5'10", 235 pounds coming into your living room. I wouldn't want to tackle that guy.
3rd and a long 1. And they're going to throw it, and the ball is picked off by Lofa to Tupu, and he is into the end zone for a touchdown.
Take a look at the interception. Lofa to Tupu just jumps the route. The irony of that is that's supposed to be a safe pass. Play action pass, dump off to your fullback. It's supposed to be safe, it wasn't.
2 touchdowns in less than a minute and a half, and Seattle now has its first lead of the day. Lofa to Tupu, bothered much of this season by a bad knee. People were wondering, where are the big plays from the 3-time Pro Bowler? That is his first interception this season, the 10th of his career. He just scored his 2nd touchdown, and now Seattle has the lead. Goodson from the goal line. Past the 20, dragged down at the 23, and back to the interception, Ross.
Take a look at Lofa to Tupu as well as Brandon LaFell. LaFell's going to come on an inside pattern. I think Jimmy Clausen didn't see Tupu because he was behind LaFell. But Lofa to Tupu was able to jump that route. Tupu has not been the same player this year, really struggling with the knee injury, but this is what he's always been, and that is a very, very smart player that can make plays like that.
And to add injury to insult, Mike Goodson remains down. Mike Goodson walked off the field under his own power. As you can see, the medical staff working on that right arm as Jonathan Stewart remains in the game, and the Panthers try and collect themselves. Stewart loses a yard, maybe 2. He stays on his feet, actually. Just like the Seahawks, I thought that play was over, Ross.
This guy is outrageous. I mean, I didn't even know he was this good. I mean, that is one of the more remarkable 6-yard runs you'll ever see. How many guys touch him? At least 2 touched him right there. At least Tupu's the 3rd right there. And then he finishes it by getting a couple extra yards. And he is excited. He should be.
Goes from what would have been a loss of 3 to a gain of almost 7. And Stewart spins forward close to another first down. And right now, let's get an update on the Rams and Cardinals from Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.
You want to talk hard runners. Does anyone run harder than Steven Jackson? The Ram running back taking it 27 yards, putting the St. Louis Rams on top of Arizona 16-6. Of course, the Rams trying to hold on to first place in the West and get to 500. Chris and Ross.
Thank you, Kurt. Of course, Steven Jackson played his college ball up here in the Pacific Northwest at Oregon State. It was a first down by Stewart. This is Terrell Sutton. Dragged down after a gain of about a yard. Aaron Curry, first time we have called his name this afternoon, makes the stop. Well, what a run the Seahawks have been on. They have outscored Carolina 17-0 in the last 7:44.
I was just going to say, what a difference a half makes. I don't know who gave the halftime pep talk, but I might have to hire him for a function at some point.
Clausen pressured, just throws it away. It was Earl Thomas, the first-round pick out of Texas. And what did Lawyer Malloy tell us about Thomas? That he is the fastest player he's ever seen at that position.
He said that Earl Thomas covers more ground, and you're looking at him, watch how much ground Earl Thomas can cover, how fast he is. Lawyer Malloy said it's the fastest safety he's ever played with. That's high praise for a guy that's been in the NFL 15 years to bestow upon the first rounder.
Malloy calls Thomas the road runner. 3rd and 8 out of the shotgun. trying to set up a little screen, and that ball was nearly picked off as it popped into the air. Brandon Mebane almost got his mitts on it.
Pete Carroll is fired up. I think the guys love this about him. They love the youthful enthusiasm. The Seahawks read this from the get-go. Walter Thurman, number 28, is going to get involved, as was Jordan Babineau. A couple of backup defensive backs in there in an obvious passing situation, making their presence felt.
Baker boots it away. Washington cuts it up. He's got some space. He's past the 30, the 40, just the punter to beat. Leon Washington has gone not quite the distance as Baker trips him up, and he is down at the 1-yard line. .84 yards on the return, but what an effort by Jason Baker.
Well, it was, but it started with Leon Washington getting up the field. That's always your best opportunity, is to get vertical as soon as you can. Celebrating a little too soon, if you ask me. If he doesn't put up the number 1 finger, maybe he makes it. Watch the right hand to Baker on Washington's right foot, and then that forces Leon Washington to trip himself, just like we did to everybody in grade school.
If Washington is a size 9 instead of a size 11, he probably scores there.
He's never going to live that one down, that's for sure.
So first and goal for the Seahawks. Lynch trying to find some room. He barrels forward. Did he get in? He did not, said the referee. Half yard shy.
There was nothing there when Lynch first got the ball, but then quite an impressive second surge by the big boys up front in the Seahawks. Lynch kind of stops in his tracks, and then once he puts his head down, watch all the big guys pushing. Locklear, Spencer, trying to drive Lynch in.
Lynch again. He is in this time for his second touchdown of the half.
Take a look at Marshawn Lynch. The play is designed to follow his fullback, Michael Robinson, to the right. But he didn't like it over there, so he cut all the way back behind the pile of humanity and did it himself.
The Seahawks have scored 21 points here in the third. They now lead it by 10 over the Panthers. That man, Leon Washington, with the 84-yard punt return to set up the touchdown run by Marshawn Lynch. His second this quarter. Seattle on a 24-0 run. They now have a 10-point lead as Mare boots it away. Goodson back in the game, drops it. Cuts it up. There's a flag down as he's past the 40, the 50, another flag down. Goodson has gone the distance. However, there are flags down.
This one is coming back. Although I think that the first flag that was thrown might be against Seattle.
You can see how frustrating this is for Goodson and the Panthers. That would have gotten them right back in it.
It'll be interesting to hear them sort this out.
During the return, there were 2 fouls by the return team. Holding, receiving team number 25, that penalty is declined. Personal foul, low block. Return team number 38, that penalty will be half the distance to the goal. First down, Carolina.
Goodson bobbled the ball. Look at the left side of your screen. I see Leon Washington went low right here. I thought that they might call him for that, but instead they called it a push in the back.
So now the penalty pushes the Panthers back inside the 10. Clausen flushed out of the pocket and just throws it away. Well, great day for Leon Washington, and he basically single-handedly won them the game week 3 against the San Diego Chargers.
Yeah, he took 2 kicks back to the house, 101 yards and 99 yards. And he now has 6 kickoff returns for touchdown his career. That's second in NFL history.
Only Cleveland's Josh Cribbs has more. But look at that's almost like an NBA run. 24-0 in 9.5 minutes. Stewart trying to give the Panthers something. No quit in him as he gains about 3.
The Seahawks are geared up to try to stop the run right now. They are daring the Carolina Panthers to beat them through the air. They brought Lawyer Malloy hard off the edge on that play.
Clausen 1 for his last 7. And it's getting loud. Clausen pressured and dropped. Chris Clemens.
I cannot believe he held on to that football. I am floored that Jimmy Clausen was able to hold on to the ball. You watch Clausen center, it's actually pretty well blocked. But then when he tries to run up and still looking down the field, you can see the look on Jordan Gross's face right there. He's like, you gotta be kidding me. That sack counts for Clemens, but does not go against Jordan Gross. He did a nice job blocking Clemens on that one.
Baker. Washington takes it on a hop. Tries to split the defenders, but instead is dragged down quickly by Jordan Sen at the 42. Well, every game in December counts. So meaningful at this time of year. Next week, you've got the Vikings taking on the New York Giants. A huge game, as New York was a big winner this afternoon. Same goes for Minnesota. They might be battling even without Brett Favre. Some of you will see the Falcons and the Panthers, also late game Seahawks and the Niners. It all gets started with the Ford Fox NFL pregame show, brought to you by the all-new Ford Edge at noon Eastern. Hasselbeck, play action, hits a wide open Brandon Stokely, and he's got a first down into Carolina territory. Well, here are your early scores. Ross, what caught your eye?
I would say the way in which the Vikings were able to beat the Bills. I'm not surprised that they won, but the way they were able to do it that convincingly. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier in the game, Cleveland beating Miami. That is a big win for Eric Mangini and that franchise. And really, a tough loss to take if you're Tony Sperano, Chad Henne, and the guys down there in Miami.
Yeah, Miami falls to 6-6 with that loss. In the highly competitive AFC. Flags are down, and false start against the Seahawks.
False start. Offense number 77. 5-yard penalty. First down.
That's the right guard, Stacey Andrews.
Yeah, they list him at 340. I'm going to guess he's closer to 360. And when you're 6'7" and 360 and you move, people notice. You're not going to get away with it, I promise.
Well, there's Mike Williams. Once again, he was injured on the Seahawks' first drive today. The other starting wideout, Ben Omamanu, we haven't seen him since he left with an apparent forearm injury. Hasselbeck, ball is tipped and it's picked off by Munnerlyn. He stays on his feet until he is decked right there by Russell Okung. So exactly what Carolina needed to get back into this game. A huge turnover.
Absolutely amazing. Take a look at Jason Williams. Here's a guy making his second NFL start. He reads it. He jumps the route in front of Golden Tate, and then Captain Munderland is able to pick. I mean, these are two guys, Chris, both making their second starts in the NFL, yet for the second week in a row, they're both making big plays.
And let's see if Carolina can turn it into points. They are near midfield. Stewart up to midfield before he is stopped after a 4-yard gain.
If you're Carolina right now, you don't have to deviate from the game plan coming into today. You do not want to put this all on Jimmy Clausen's shoulders. Continue with the ball control game, handing it off to Stewart, and just mixing in the passing game when you have to.
Clausen, incomplete, nearly picked off by Kelly Jennings. And quickly, let's get a game break on the Colts and the Cowboys with Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.
The Colts force the Cowboys to punt, and then it's blocked. Taj Smith blocks it and recovers it for a touchdown. Indianapolis has come all the way back to take the lead, 28-27 early in the fourth. Chris and Ross.
Chris, nobody ever talks about special teams in the offseason. You know, in May and June and July. But how many of these games during the regular season, our game here, that game in Indy, hinge on big plays in the special teams?
Huge in the month of December. 3rd and 6, play clock at 2, and Clausen calls a timeout. Did they snap it? Yes, the refs did give him timeout.
Prior to the snap, timeout Carolina. Their first charge timeout. It will be a 30-second timeout.
Jimmy Clausen wanted the ball from Ryan Khalil. He was asking for it, but it was going to be too late. That does not go down as a false start because of the noise, but that still is a timeout, I should say, that was caused by the noise because they had to go to silent cadence or a silent count where the center, Ryan Khalil, is looking at his quarterback, Jimmy Clausen. They weren't on the same page.
And actually, Ryan Khalil has now come over close to the sidelines to go over things with his coaching staff. And Jimmy Clausen told us in our meetings yesterday that they have several different silent counts. What does that all mean?
Well, when you get to a place that's this loud, the offensive tackles, when you're in shotgun, they are not going to be able to hear the quarterback. So they all take their cue from the center and his head movement. We'll be able to take a look at it right here. Watch Khalil.
And a disastrous play there as Clausen just gets creamed by several Seahawks.
You can see Clausen gets the ball from Khalil, and they run a stunt inside. They don't pass the stunt off, and again, part of that goes back to the noise. And Carroll's fired up. Momentum is a very real thing in the National Football League.
Washington calls for the fair catch at his own 16. And that's where the Seahawks will take over. Well, NASCAR season might be over, but Fox, we're already gearing up for another exciting year, and it all begins February with the running of the Great American Race live from the Daytona International Speedway. It is the Daytona 500 this February only on Fox. Well, if you're the Seahawks, you would love to run a little clock, grind it out on the ground. As you see Jimmy Clausen, well, he's been taking his licks. Gonna have to hit that ice bath after this, baby.
That's exactly why you try to stay out of those situations as much as you can, especially in the noisy confines here in Seattle.
Lynch off the right side for about 5 before being shoved out of bounds by John Beeson.
Marshall and Lynch carrying the load so far today.
Well, they came in, Seattle did, with the worst rushing offense, not only in the league, but perhaps in the history of the Seahawks franchise. They averaged less than 78 yards per game on the ground.
Maybe he heard me in the first quarter when I was calling for Forsett to get more carries.
Well, here a quick toss to Leon Washington, who cuts it back. Dragged down by James Anderson up near the sticks. About a yard shy of the first down.
I love that play call right there. Why not get the guy involved? He was so dynamic for the New York Jets. That's Jeremy Bates right there making that decision to change it up a little bit. Give him a different look and get Leon Washington on the edge.
Well, Seattle has rushed for 96 yards so far this afternoon. That's 76 more than they had all of last week. And here on 3rd and 1, Lynch powers forward to the 30, and that's enough for a first down as Jason Williams drags it down. Well, Leon Washington, so many different ways he could beat you when he was with the Jets, and he's done it this afternoon. Although here it was the boo-boo. Do I come out or don't I? Yes, I do. And then the punt return, 84 yards to set up Marshawn Lynch's second touchdown of the afternoon.
That's called making up for the previous miscue right there.
This should be the last play of the 3rd quarter. And Charles Johnson jumps off sides, it looks like.
Encroachment, defense, number 95. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
And that will do it. A dominating 3rd quarter for the Seahawks. It is 24-14 Seattle. Fox NFL Sunday will continue after a word from your local Fox station. Pete Carroll in a much better mood. His team leading the Carolina Panthers 24-14. Alongside Ross Tucker, I'm Chris Rose. And Ross, I do want to know what Seattle said at halftime, because in the 3rd quarter they scored on offense, they scored on defense, they nearly scored on special teams.
Yeah, and there's a lot of football to be played, but if they win this game and then somehow go forward and win this division, I get the sense that they're going to be talking about this quarter and that first drive here in the 3rd quarter for a long time.
Now 1st and 5 after the offsides on Charles Johnson, and Hasselbeck comes out firing deep down the left side, looking for Golden Tate, who was out of bounds. Covered well there by Robert McClain. And really, if you think about it, they did it without their 2 starting wide receivers. No Mike Williams, no Ben Obamanu, both injured in the first half. They've been without their starting tight end, John Carlson, this afternoon, so other guys have had to step up. And
they have. Defensively, Tutupu, special teams, Leon Washington. That's why football is the ultimate team sport.
2nd and 5. Lynch bounces outside and gets close to the first down. He is right at the marker as we take a look at the stats from the 3rd quarter. Well, you tell me who scored 21 and who scored nothing.
I don't even know what to circle. You can go sacks, you can go turnovers, you can go yards.
What is this, geometry class?
I can just put all kinds of circles on there. I can overlap circles if I want to. Everything in Seattle's side is good. Everything on Carolina's side is bad. That's pretty much all you need to know about what just happened there in the 3rd quarter.
They did give Lynch a first down. Clock moving, quick toss to the left of Washington. He is bottled up nicely there by Everett Brown. Well, Carolina, they forced a couple of Matt Hasselbeck interceptions. That's really what they need right now, is some sort of turnover, get that offense a little space and point it in the right direction.
In the worst way, and they need to be able to take advantage of it. They've gotten these turnovers, and yet when they come on, they really haven't moved the ball at all since the half, and they are not built to come from behind. This is not their comfort zone.
Hasselbeck, quick hitter to Stokely, who's wide open in the middle of the field, and he moves the chains again.
Matt Hasselbeck told us a couple days ago, as you see Brandon Stokely, that he thinks he might be the best slot receiver ever in the NFL. And that's why right there, they are sharing a brain so often in terms of where Stokely's going to sit down. He's a coach's son, and he plays like it.
Fourth catch this afternoon for Stokely from 47 yards. Quick hitter, Altamora, who drops it.
What does that tell you about Cameron Mora and his athleticism, that they throw him wide receiver screens, if you will? And here's a guy who's playing tight end, yet they still are willing to throw the ball out to a 251-pound man like that in space.
Mora, a second-year man, a 7th-round pick out of Cal last year. Seeing extended playing time because of the injury to Carlson. They're on 2nd and 10, and Hasselbeck is dropped. Big play by John Beeson.
They just ran a stunt up front, and the Seattle Seahawks offensive line was not able to pick it up. Look at John Beeson. He's going to come off Everett Brown's butt to the right side, tight to it, and comes in and lowers the boom on Hasselbeck. How'd you like to see that coming at you right there? You wouldn't.
Beeson, who picked up his first interception of the season last week in Cleveland, gets his first sack of 2010 right there. 3rd and 17 for Hasselbeck. Looks downfield, he hits Butler, and he's going to get enough for the first down. Gain of 20.
There was outstanding coverage downfield. Hasselbeck couldn't find anyone. This is one of the very underrated parts of his game, is his ability to move and make plays like he did right there. That is a huge first down in this ballgame.
Moves the chains, keeps the clock moving as well. Under 12 minutes to go. Lynch. Tyler Brayton has played a solid game, wrapped him up.
This is when it becomes very, very difficult to run the football, because the Carolina Panthers know all too well that Seattle would like to try and grind as much clock as they can while still scoring. And as you saw on that play, John Fox is no dummy. He wants to stack the box, try to nip those runs right in the bud.
12th play of this drive. Panthers bring pressure. That ball is incomplete. Sherrod Martin came up with it, but they said it hit the ground first. Intended for Deon Butler.
3rd down.
That is a very, very dangerous pass by Matt Hasselbeck. I'm surprised he threw this, because Beeson and Martin were both exactly where they were supposed to be. Clearly the ball hit the ground. Take one more look at it. Yeah, it bounced up into Martin's arms. The one thing Seattle can ill afford here is a turnover.
What did Hasselbeck tell us the other day? That sometimes it's a little impatient, especially in the middle of the field. 3rd and 10. Hasselbeck is going to use a timeout.
First charge timeout.
Seahawks on the move and up 10. You want to know what 1 and 10 tastes like?
It doesn't taste very good, especially for guys like Steve Smith, who have been here for all the good times, the Super Bowls, the championship games. It's got to be tough to go through a season like this in Carolina.
3rd and 10. Hasselbeck trying to work the stop and go to Forsetti. Had him, but he overthrows him as he beat Munnerlyn on the play.
They got exactly what they wanted Justin Forsett at the bottom of your screen, a double move against Captain Munnerlyn. He bit the fake after Hasselbeck faked it. They just were not able to connect. The pump fake by Hasselbeck is what got Munnerlyn right there.
Now Mare from 47. He is 5 for 5 this year from 40 to 49 yards out. And that one is no good. So the Panthers have some life and the ball in good field position. Well, Fox's football coverage doesn't end when the games are over. Afterwards, stick around for the OT presented by Lowe's, where Kurt, Terry, Howie, Jimmy, and Michael bring you the exclusive interviews, the extended highlights, all the analysis. It's coming your way, the OT presented by Lowe's. Jimmy Clausen pressured, throws it up and out of bounds. The Panthers so dominant in the early going, but they have been going the wrong way as of late.
Jimmy Clausen is really starting to take a beating. That time Earl Thomas gets him high, while Junior Ciavitti gets him low.
Their last 18 plays, they have averaged less than a yard per play. With flags down, just shovels it ahead to Stewart. He stays on his feet, gets into Seattle territory, and brought down at the 47. However, a flag in the backfield.
This will probably be an illegal hands to the face by Mackenzie
Legal
Bernardo.
use of hands to the face. Offense number 73. 10-yard penalty, replay second down.
Well, you were right on it, Ross.
Yeah, take a look at him. He's the left guard right there, working against Brandon Mebane. Watch his left hand. He had a double team, and his left hand gets up in Brandon Mebane's face mask right there, and they're going to call that.
Wipes out a first down and takes him back 10 yards. Gene Steratore has called an official's timeout on the field. What a momentum changer that is, too. Wipes out what would have been a first down. You were in Seattle territory after you'd had so much difficulty moving it here in the second half. Clausen shoots it to Terrell Sutton for a short gain. Right now, let's get a game break from Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.
The Cowboys got a field goal to take the lead, but the Colts were called for leverage, so the Cowboys took the points off the board, went for the touchdown, and got it. John Kitna to Jason Witten, plus a 2-point conversion, and with 2.5 left, they lead in Indy by a touchdown. Chris and Ross.
Thank you so much, Kurt. 3rd and 17. Panthers have to get to the 48. Slings it out to Rosario, who's going to be stopped well shy by Cam Chancellor, the rookie out of Virginia Tech.
Seattle's defense gets it done one more time. Really aided. I want to go back to what you said, Chris, about the second down penalty on Mackenzie Bernardo. That was just huge, because this offense does not do well in 2nd and 3rd and long obvious passing down.
Washington from the 15. Nice play by Gary Barnidge, his 2nd special teams tackle of the afternoon. That Seattle offense back on the field after this. Back in the Pacific Northwest, I'm Chris Rose, joined by Ross Tucker and Jamie Maggio. It has been all Seattle here in the second half. Up 10 with less than 9 minutes to go. Trying to snap a 2-game home losing streak in which they've allowed the opponent to score at least 40 in each game. Lynch. Jason Williams wraps him up. And if you're just joining us, here's what's happened in Seattle. All Carolina early.
It was ground and pound. Goodson and Stewart, just the way the Panthers like it early.
They were up 14-3 at the break. Second half, Lynch with the touchdown. Then look at the keeper who returns the pick six. Then how about the 84-yard punt return by Leon Washington to set up Lynch's second touchdown of the day. 24 unanswered for the Seahawks. And here another first down as Hasselbeck connects. It's Deon Butler moving the chains this time.
How about the confidence that Jeremy Bates and Pete Carroll have in Matt Hasselbeck? You're up by 10. You're going against a team that really has not been able to move the football at all in the second half. Yet he's still having Hasselbeck throw for first downs.
Dominance on the scoreboard in the second half and also in total yardage. Hasselbeck swings it out to Lynch. He's got room to run. Up at midfield and into Panthers territory. And quickly, let's have a game break from Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles.
Matt Ryan's second interception of the day against Tampa turns into points. The running back, Ernest Graham, a little trick play to John Gilmore, and the Bucs have a 10-point lead with 10 minutes left in regulation. Chris and Ross.
Thank you, Kurt. Michael Robinson bursts forward for another first down before Sherrod Martin drags him down at the 35.
That is back-to-back play calls that I really liked. This time they give it to Michael Robinson, the former Penn State quarterback, up the middle. This guy's not just a fullback, though. 79 special teams tackles over 4 years in San Francisco. As you look at Jeremy Bates getting Robinson involved, I still can't figure out how a college quarterback can have 79 special teams. There's different sides of the brain.
Washington's going to throw it. He's pressured, and he's just going to eat it wisely. He was looking for Cameron Mora downfield, but Captain Munnerlyn and James Anderson were in his face.
Well, at least we know for sure that Jeremy Bates is not a conservative guy, because he wanted the old halfback option pass. Leon could not throw it. Probably should have thrown the ball away. However, I think they're probably happy that he went down in the field of play to keep the clock moving.
Loss of 7, but they will take that if the clock keeps ticking away, approaching the 6-minute mark. Forsett off the right side. Spins forward and gets another Seattle first down. Ross, it has been all three of the running backs this afternoon. Lynch, Forsett, Washington.
This is almost a mirror image of what we saw earlier. Greg Hardy, the rookie defensive end, goes inside. Somebody is wrong there. If Greg Hardy goes inside, somebody else has to be outside. So it's either James Anderson or Greg Hardy, the rookie, not knowing what he's supposed to do. But there's no defensive scheme in which you have nobody outside like that.
The worst rushing team in the NFL, now at about 140 yards this afternoon on the ground.
Some of these runs from Justin Forsett are a good indication of what he's capable of. I was impressed with him last year when I came up here to do a game for Fox. He really carried the load last year when Julius Jones went down. I think he can carry the load again. I'd like to see him get even more touches with Lynch.
Forsett came into the afternoon as the Seahawks' leading rusher. Just over 400 yards this season on the ground. It'll be their 5th straight year without a 1,000-yard rusher, but today, getting it done. Lynch, up the middle, inside the 10, he makes a move, and Lynch is into the end zone for the 3rd time today. make it 30 unanswered points for Seattle. And now 31. Hats off to Marshawn Lynch, who now has the hat trick. 3 TDs, and they're up 17. What a day for Marshawn Lynch. He came over from Buffalo in an October trade. Has really struggled to get into any sort of flow offensively, but I guess he's found it this afternoon.
It certainly appears that way. This has got to be his best game as a Seahawk, and maybe there'll be things more to come from him.
Geddes first ahead, gets it up to the 33, and let's take a look at the third touchdown of Lynch.
3 key blocks, the center, the right guard, and the fullback. Watch them all 3. Keep your eye on the center, Chris Spencer, in the middle of the field. Boom! He cuts down James Anderson on the backside. That was the critical block. You get the backside cut down. Lynch makes Sherrod Martin miss, and that's how you get a 22-yard touchdown in the NFL.
And now Jimmy Clausen, just over 4 minutes to go, trying to put something together offensively to take perhaps into next week. That's Terrell Sutton, who gains about 4.
It really is amazing how quickly things can turn in the NFL. In the first half, the Panthers pretty much could not have played better. And obviously the second half has been the complete opposite of that.
Quick hitter right at the sticks. That is Geddes making his second catch this afternoon. Start looking ahead to the remaining games for the NFC West co-leaders, because right now St. Louis, with 2 minutes to go down in Arizona, is leading 19-6. So they're going to remain tied at 6-6 atop the division. Who do you like?
I don't know. If you would ask me in the first half, I would have said St. Louis. Now I'm not so sure.
Sutton gets it into Seattle territory. But of course, those two teams, the Rams and Seahawks, will meet up here the final Sunday of the regular season, and it might come down to that.
It really could. Looking at each one of their schedules, the schedules are very comparable.
Sutton gains 8, as we're now under 3 minutes to go. Well, don't forget about the OT presented by Lowe's. Extended highlights, analysis, interviews coming your way with all the guys down in Los Angeles. That is right after football here on Fox. Clausen pressured down the middle to Rosario. Gets it down to the 20 with 2.5 to go. His first catch of the afternoon. Carolina, they showed so much confidence in the first half. They were up 14-3 at the break. Stymied offensively here in the second half. Rosario again stopped after a 2-yard gain, and that should get us down to the 2-minute warning. It has been all Seattle in the second half. They lead it 31-14, and looks like they'll cruise to 6-6. Chris Rose, Ross Tucker, Jamie Maggio back with you in Seattle, where it's been a tale of 2 halves.
There's no question. Look at the third and fourth quarter.
Well, now I can't read the numbers.
My pretty little circles.
And you're the Princeton guy.
I didn't take drawing 101.
Well, Carolina trying to gain something here in the second half offensively. Clausen tries a quick hit to Steve Smith, incomplete. Well, the Rams, winners down in Arizona, 19-6 the final. So for the time being, at least for the next minute and 57 seconds, they're all alone in first atop the NFC West.
Well, at least we know at this point that whoever wins the NFC West will have at least 7 wins. Because Seattle will win today and they play against each other. And more than likely, one or both these teams will get another win. 8-8 might be enough.
3rd and 9 for Clausen. Goes to Brandon LaFell. makes the adjustment but can't come down with it. Kelly Jennings had close coverage on that one.
Kelly Jennings did not panic. That is the key in these situations. If you panic, it is a pass interference penalty, and the other team gets the ball at the 1 yard line. He got just his left hand up there, just enough. A lot of contact down there, but I think probably a good no call.
4th and 9. Seahawks showing blitz. Here they come. Clausen trying for LaFell, no good, but there are flags down. It'll be offside against the Seahawks, so the Panthers will get another crack at it.
Offside. Defense number 36 was in the neutral zone at the snap. 5-yard penalty. Replay, 4th down.
Quick update from Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles with a game break.
They are going to overtime in Indy because with 30 seconds left, Javaris James gets his 2nd touchdown to tie it with the Cowboys. 35 apiece, time permitting. We'll take you guys to the wrap-up of that game. Chris and Ross.
Thank you, Kurt. Great finishes happening in Tampa and Indy. We'll keep you updated on the OT presented by Lowe's. Here on 4th down, Clausen to LaFell. He's got the 1st down inside the 5. Panthers working quickly, approaching a minute and a half to go.
It's throws like that by Jimmy Clausen that show you he has all the physical tools. He zipped that in there.
Terrell Sutton in the backfield next to Clausen. Inside handoff. Gets maybe 1. Panthers still have 2 timeouts left. Clock is running. We're now under 1 minute to go in Seattle. Clausen hits Sutton, and Hawthorne hits him before he reaches the goal line. And the Panthers have called a timeout.
David Hawthorne sitting back in the zone, breaks on the ball as soon as Sutton caught it and drives his feet so that Sutton cannot score. David Hawthorne doesn't get nearly as much attention or name brand recognition as guys like Tupu and Curry. He just makes plays week in, week out.
13 tackles a week ago against the Chiefs, 14 this afternoon. Well, today's game is being produced by Ray Smaltz, directed by Derek Manning. The associate director is John Coleman. Broadcast associate Eric Mandia, the technical producer Sid Drexler. The studio was produced by Scott Ackerson, directed by Bob Levy. The associate director is Stephanie Medina. Highlights coordinator Janice Casaza. The studio technical supervisor is Jack Simmons. Thanks to Mike Quintero and Kimball Bergman up here in the booth helping out as well. 3rd and goal with 45 ticks left. Flags down. It'll be a false start against the Panthers.
Not a horrible penalty by Kentwan Balmer. Or are they going to get the Panthers?
Well, the original indication was going to be false start, but now they're having a little talk about it.
False start.
You're right.
Offense number 69. 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
I did not see the movement by Jordan Gross. I just saw Kentwan Balmer fire across the line. I thought, you know what? Not a bad effort there, because what's the worst that can happen?
Right.
Half the distance penalty, you might as well go for it.
All you offensive linemen are oblivious to those sort of fouls.
I got your back, George.
Clausen looking for LaFell, in and out of his hands, and it'll be 4th down.
Take a look at Brandon LaFell at the top of your screen. He's working against Trufant one-on-one. It's a back shoulder throw. Gets his body turned around. just not able to get both hands on the ball and bring it in. In fact, he might have gotten both hands on it, but wasn't able to catch it.
Jimmy Clausen has now run 147 passes without a touchdown. Looking for something special on 4th and goal. Plenty of time. Fires it incomplete as Chris Clemens, the defensive end, got his paws on it.
Fantastic job of coverage. Clausen had all day. He rolls out to his left all day to throw. Couldn't find it when Chris Clemens, 91, plays that hybrid D-end outside linebacker spot. He's able to tip it away. You know, Clausen was looking for Steve Smith, trying to get it to him. Not able to do so.
Well, John Fox's crew came in here determined. They had a 14-3 halftime lead. Steve Smith still fighting, but it's tough when you're watching every weekend the other team take a knee.
For Carolina, none of these guys have ever experienced being 1-11 before. It is not easy. And for Seattle, they got exactly what they needed, especially here at home after the previous 2 home games.
So the Seahawks improved to 6-6, 31 unanswered points this afternoon. And they are now tied with the St. Louis Rams atop the NFC West. We'll be back to wrap things up right after this.